Hey everybody, Professor Stines here. So this kind of video is going to talk about this picture and kind of how I got here. What's neat about this picture is that every time I kind of change my code and hit the save button, all my different browsers kind of go together and make this magic happen where they just kind of automatically sync to one another. So I'm going to kind of walk you through how to get started on that, and it's really not too bad, and it really saves a lot of time. You can just kind of type over here, hit the save button, and kind of see your design in action. So a good place to get started is with Node.js. And Node.js is a server, kind of like IIS and kind of like Apache, but it's built on JavaScript. Originally, JavaScript was a client-side language for kind of scripting in a browser, but now JavaScript is basically a server, and that's Node.js. So you'll kind of need to click on whatever's the most recent version, download it. All the default options should pretty much apply here. So it's pretty neat. You can kind of walk through and see how it works. Basically, it is kind of a web server and kind of define stuff and work with it. We're going to kind of skip a lot of this stuff, and we're going to kind of look directly at a program called Gulp. And it's the streaming build system. It's really neat, and we're going to kind of walk through on how to get started with that. So let's take a look at it, and basically once we get kind of Node installed and we're about to this point, first command here is to npm install global, the Gulp CLI framework, plugin, whatever you want to call it, kind of whatever you want to call it. So to do that, I need to kind of go into Start Program Files and find the command prompt for it. So Start in Windows would be kind of Start Programs. You should kind of have this Node.js command prompt in here. And so when you kind of start it up, it'll kind of do some stuff. The Node.js exe isn't really going to do a whole lot, so don't really need to worry about it. We're going to do most of our work here in the command prompt. So it's kind of asking me to go ahead and install Gulp CLI. But we're going to run a couple commands here first to kind of get started. And so first thing I kind of need to do, or want to do, is just kind of come out to maybe my desktop and kind of create a folder. Just call it my node site for right now. There's not really a whole lot in it, just kind of a blank site. So I'm kind of at the root of my website right now, and that would be a root of my user account. That would be kind of C users Cobra at this point. And so kind of on my computer, these are about the same. I want to go to my desktop and find that folder that's there, my node site. So a lookup for a folder is dir. That'll kind of show all the listings in a folder. So that's kind of all that's there. But I can cd, that's change directory, and say let's go to the desktop / my node site. And so we should be here. If I dir it, it's not going to show any files because there's nothing here. But let's start by running what's called this is the node packet manager, npm. Let's run an init statement on it to kind of set up our repository, kind of set up our site a little bit. We can kind of change the name here. I'm just going to hit enter to kind of take the folder name. We could change the version, set a description. We could kind of change the default entry point if we wanted to, kind of a test command, get repository, a bunch of kind of other stuff, change the license. We're just going to say that yes, that's fine, and hit go. All it kind of did was create what's called this JSON file, and this JSON file is JSON's JavaScript object notation. And it's just kind of showing our basic settings of the site, what we've got going. Yep, that's from the last one. So that's pretty good. Let's look at Gulp. First thing we need to do is we need to install it globally. And what that means is we need to kind of throw this global parameter at it to make sure it's installed over kind of everything. So that would be npm install -g. -g and -global are kind of the same. And that's gulp -cli. And if you kind of just copy and paste off the website, that's probably fine. Just kind of want to make sure it's right though. Double click, Gulp CLI. Okay. Now it's going to the global. There's kind of a global repository, and then repositories within a certain site. So right now we still only have our package.json file in there. Nothing really in there yet. We can use a command that's called npm ls for kind of a lookup service. Pass a parameter at it, depth, and say 0. Let's see what is all installed. There's no G on this one. That's kind of inside my node site. But if I kind of add that -G, I should be able to kind of see the gulp that's installed. That's kind of the difference. Let's see, we want to kind of save, now we actually want to put it in our project though. I mean, we got it installed globally, but we actually want it in our project. But we do want to kind of say dev. And what that means is that if we kind of set a production flag, this library will not be included. So I'm just going to kind of copy this one out and paste it in. That'd be a right-click paste. And we'll run for a little bit. And it's kind of creating a node modules folder. Inside of that is kind of going to be the repo for Gulp. Bin folders. So that's good. I kind of have a little bit here on how you could kind of get started a little bit by running a straight up gulp command. We're going to kind of scroll down a little bit and look at recipes. And so these are kind of a bunch of pre-built gulps that can be used. We're going to look down at kind of one of the, I think it's a really easy one to get started with, is a server with live reload and CSS injection. That's kind of what I was using there. And it's kind of the example that we need. Gulp.js, it's kind of out here on GitHub. First off, it's talking about BrowserSync. So before we kind of get started with that, it's kind of telling us to install it straight in the module. But it's kind of a neat one. Let's take a look at it. This is kind of a site that's based on it. It's got an npm command as well to install it globally. But I'm going to take a look at the documentation since I'm on a Windows system. And there is kind of an option here for trying to install it with a little bit of a separate flag identifier here for Visual Studio. I read it the first time and have done it, so I'm just going to kind of copy it from there and go. Except I do not have 2013. I have 2015. So let's install it globally first. And it does kind of throw a bunch of errors here, especially about not having Python installed or something. I don't have Python installed on my machine. But it all ends up working out, so I guess that's good. See, it's kind of trying to throw some errors in there. Not okay. I've seen a couple of those in there once or twice. But I think it's good. It worked for me. Again, we can kind of hit the up command, look back a little bit, and look. Let's look at what's installed in the project. That's npm ls --depth equals 0. And we only have gulp. But if we ran the same command with the -G to see what's installed globally, we should kind of have our browser sync up there at the top. So that's cool. I do need to install this guy locally as well. And so I'm kind of going to look at, I'm just going to kind of take this command from here and let it roll. And again, it might throw some errors like it did last time. Trying to save it to the dev environment. That may throw some errors, we'll see. Probably the same as last time. Essentially what this is kind of going to expect is a little bit of a file system kind of made out that looks like a website with a gulp file on top that's kind of going to define how we're running all these things. The other thing that inside that gulp file, we're going to have kind of this information here, and These first two are kind of pulling in these two libraries that we're adding, and then kind of setting a variable based on one of them, the BrowserSync. Gulp is really good for setting tasks, and that's kind of what was originally on the home page for Gulp, was that it's just kind of a streaming build system, a lot of other stuff in it too. So let's look at our folder and kind of see if we can't make out something that's going to be kind of similar. So let's start by making a Gulpfile.js up here at the top. I'll go ahead and open that up in Notepad++. Let's create an app folder, which is really going to hold kind of our website. And so inside the app folder, we're going to have an index.html file. And then we'll have a let's look at it again. App, and then a styles and a scripts. Okay, so styles and a scripts. I'd probably organize mine a little bit better. Maybe have like a source folder or something like that to kind of hold them both. And in here we'll add a main.cs. It doesn't matter what you call them though. Kind of call them whatever you want to. Scripts. I'll call it main.js. Actually, Notepad++ has this new feature in it where you can basically kind of go into the View tab and view a folder as workspace. And that was kind of an old one. Kind of open up my new one that was just kind of on my desktop. And that was my Node site. Click OK. Should help make managing them a little bit better. Let's start by just kind of throwing out some HTML to kind of work out a page a little bit, just give it some basic structure. And that's something like this. And title. This is node test. Let's see, let's just copy some stuff out from the W3 CSS file to simplify some CSS, at least here in the beginning. Got our viewport, got our style sheet, hello world statement. Let's put a link into our own style sheet, so that's link rel style sheet. It's styles / main.css. And we had a script tag too. That's source scripts and main.js. It looks pretty good. Kind of a basic page. Let's go back to our little tutorial here. Gulpfile, app folder, styles, main, index, html. I got htm, that's fine. It's kind of walking you through it. So we're just going to kind of copy out this part right here. Kind of pulling in those two directories, setting a task. Gulp is good at tasks. And calling a serve function. Essentially what serve is going to do is it's going to call the BrowserSync object, throw some attributes at it, and then kind of set a watch command. So we're kind of watching for some things, and if they happen, then we're going to kind of want to call this reload, and that's kind of where this gulp task comes in hand too. So it's kind of nifty how it all kind of ties together. So anyway, I'm just going to copy and paste that for right now. Serve app. I'm going to add one thing here. That's index, and that's index.htm. Put a comma there. I'm using HTM. I could just kind of add that as another option here, and that's kind of parentheses between the two, comma, and then we're looking for all the files that have .htm. Essentially what's going on. Same with styles, kind of getting all the CSS sheets, all of the JavaScript sheets. So whenever something kind of happens, we're going to reload it. And that's how it's. That's kind of all we need. Well, let's see. Let's do a double check here and look. Let's do a npm ls without the G. Make sure that we got these two guys installed. BrowserSync and Gulp. We do. I got the CSS in there. Got the script tag too. So pretty much we all just need to throw is the gulp serve command at it. So let's throw that out and see what happens. Let's hope it works. It's pretty neat. Now the other cool part about it too is if I kind of come in and start typing some junk and hitting save, stuff already just kind of works. So I'll start kind of adding some classes in here, W3 content, W3 blue, kind of give it some color or something. You know, it really speeds up development time too. I don't really have to go back and forth to the browser, and just every time I hit save, it kind of keeps stuff going. Throw a nav tag, main tag, or something out there. There's some other really neat stuff in Node that would make even doing this right here really easy. Kind of some shortcut methods that Node can automatically just kind of change it into some basic markup, almost like lorem ipsum text right for you. So, kind of keep hitting save, stuff keeps on working, which is really neat. Yeah, something like that. W3 third. That should be a div. Well, really can just kind of see your changes happen in real time. It's kind of neat. The other cool thing is this is running on localhost port 300, is I can kind of copy this guy out and I can do it on different browsers at the same time. So if I got Internet Explorer and Firefox open and kind of wanted to test those as well, I just kind of pull those up and send them to the same URLs. Maybe some kind of way we can get them almost all on the same screen together. That might work. I just have to pull my code file off the screen and type some stuff in it. It should, like I said, everything kind of works automatically. So I just put something in and hit go. It kind of shows up on all the pages. And it's also kind of useful is that inside my local environment, I could just kind of decide that I want to. I wonder why these guys are underlined. Do I have an A tag out of whack? I have lots of A tags out of whack. That's why the validator is such a good thing. There we go. So it's pretty neat. And that's kind of how I got to the point in the picture too, is that there's also a 3000, but there's a 3001. And it kind of shows what my local host address is, but internal to my network, this is only going to make sense inside my own network, 192.168. I can connect other devices, and so I just kind of, through the wireless, I can just kind of pull it up on my phone, pull it up on my tablet, pull it up on laptops, wife's computer, or whatever. So it even kind of shows who's connected. Got a Firefox and I got an IE, what versions they are. It's kind of neat. There's also some other options in here, kind of all turned on by default. And that's if, let's get this, localhost 3000 is what I want. Localhost 3000. Alright, so if I were to put an input tag or something like that, input type equals text, ID equals text name, sure, why not, class equals W3 input, kind of typing that off screen, hit save. They all kind of got a version of it at the same time, just kind of input tag. They all kind of got a version of it at the same time. But the neat part is, if I kind of type into one of them, I say that, but then it doesn't want to do it. Gosh. Let me change background colors here. Let me just give it a little bit more officialness here. W3 white. Let's put the form tag. Let's put our W3 input inside of it. W3 label. Name. And let's put an input type equals text. Type equals submit. And let's make this guy required. Kind of one of those new HTML5 deals. So let's see. It's a little bit more legible. Not a heck of a lot, to be honest. Let's see. Let me get them layered right. Kind of see them all a little bit at once. See that? I type in one, it goes into all of them. That's so neat. So neat. So neat. But if it's empty, everybody's kind of got their own required message, right? This field's required, this field's required, this field's required. It's kind of neat, right? Kind of type in one, it gets cast to all the others. Oh man, it's so neat. So that was that's just kind of changing the HTML files. Kind of got a style sheet here, but I haven't really put a whole lot in it. So I could kind of go out to W3CS, pull out a palette real quick. Now, if you're kind of wondering how all this reload stuff is happening behind the scenes, I'll show you in just a second. Let me throw this CSS file in there. And if I'm looking at my page, that's kind of all I need to have inside of it, right? And if I look and inspect, or I kind of see it there. There's a CData class that's kind of thrown on here. See this script tag? It's kind of making the call back to the browser. That's kind of how it's working, kind of an asynchronous call, calling back to the host. That's kind of how it happens. Kind of injects it at server time. That's another one of those reasons why it wants you to make sure you put the save dev on it. There's some other kind of cool stuff that you could do too, and that's maybe working with SAS sheets and getting them compiled on the fly and getting them kind of added into the stream. That's kind of a neat thing to add into it too. Kind of do the same thing with something that's called coffee scripts with JavaScript. Kind of just going to add them into the page and let them roll. if you're really kind of trying to figure out differences and inconsistencies in browsers, this would be a really good way to do that. As we know, input type equals date is I don't know why I'm trying to refresh it, just habit, I guess. W3 date doesn't really work here. Kind of got a drop down deal in Chrome, and then nothing really going on here. So it really can kind of speed up your development process and help you debug on different things. So if you're kind of looking at a phone, trying to figure out how to make a phone work, trying to make a tablet work, it's really kind of easy to do it, really. So I don't know if there's any other plugins for this. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it fun. Hopefully get out there and experiment with it a little bit. Kind of create your own files and stuff and make them and load them up with Node. Kind of remember that when you get down to the end, I kind of been keeping this in the background. Every time I've been saving, it's kind of been running load browsers. If you want to kind of kill this process off, that's Control C. It'll come up and ask you if you want to terminate it. And if you say yes, you can do that. Yeah, kind of kill it off the browser. Let's see. I don't know if I actually showed it. I think I did. 3001. Yeah, you're looking for your external address. Pull it up on your phone or something. Anyway, have a good one. And if you got any questions, feel free to post in your discussions. Bye.